Okay, hi there and welcome to a Theme 3 micro video looking at business objectives and the impact on stakeholders. First of all, a few words about the concept of the stakeholder. So a stakeholder is basically anyone with a vested interest in the activities and the decisions taken by a business. And of course there are a whole variety of stakeholders one could identify in any given market or industry. Quite important to understand that there is a difference between shareholders and stakeholders. Stakeholders don't necessarily own a business. A customer, for example, might have a transactional relationship with a business. But critically, stakeholders have different interests in the business. So shareholders obviously looking ostensibly for return on equity in the form of dividend, share of the profits, and capital gain and increase in the share price. Let's take a few others. Managers possibly looking for job security, career progression, rising bonuses and other factors. Employees looking for security of jobs, rising real incomes, perhaps some bonuses and also a sense of vacation and career progression. Customers have an interest in getting value for money and good quality customer service. Suppliers are shown on this graphic. They're selling the inputs to a business, including the raw materials, the component parts. Typically suppliers want prompt payment and reliable, perhaps long-term contracts with their main buyers. And there's the wider community as well. The impact of business extends way beyond the actual factory or the retail shop itself. The impact on the environment and things like business compliance with laws, acting in an ethical manner. So it's quite important to understand the concept of the stakeholder. We're going to link in this video how a change in business objectives can impact on different stakeholders. The key point to note is that a change in objectives, and we'll look at 3 in this video, will lead to a difference in the price and the output combinations that we see. And those different prices in particular will have a direct impact on consumers and shareholders, 2 different stakeholders. Your evaluation could then broaden out the impact on suppliers, employees and the wider community. We'll take the example of 3 different business objectives which handily we can show on one diagram. And here is the diagram. So our diagram shows a downward sloping average and marginal revenue curve with standard marginal and average costs. Let's take our first objective, which is profit maximization. This happens, of course, where marginal cost and marginal revenue intersect and gives us an output of a price of P3. I'm not too concerned with the output in this situation. I'm more concerned at the moment with the price. So profit maximization gives us price P3. A second objective could be revenue maximization, which occurs where the marginal revenue is 0, where the elasticity of demand is 1, and that gives me an output, a higher output shown by the yellow dot there, and a lower price P2. Of course, another objective could be the firm could go for maximum sales consistent with making normal profit, which is where average cost and average revenue intersect, again a higher output and a lower price P1. So 3 different objectives give 3 different prices, and that will have an impact on different stakeholders. Let's think about the objectives, the shareholders, the consumers and the wider community. So profit maximization, marginal revenue was marginal cost. Well, that means the firm is making the highest profit and therefore in theory increases the returns for shareholders, including, for example, perhaps an increase in the dividend payment or a rise in the share price. However, higher prices with this objective mean that most consumers are paying more for the product, and that means that with profit maximization, consumer surplus will be the lowest level of the 3 objectives. However, if we widen the discussion out, if those firms that are making those high profits are paying their corporation taxes and other taxes, tax avoidance of course is a big issue at the moment, the profits could provide funds for the government in the form of tax revenues, and profits might also be reinvested by the business to fund investment. And again, that can have benefits to consumers, for example, in the long term. Sales revenue maximization is where marginal revenue is 0. Well, we know that the profits will be lower, other things being the same. So the shareholders may experience a fall in dividends and maybe a lower share price. Consumers better off because the price is lower, so consumer surplus increases. And we're likely to get closer towards allocative and productive efficiency if the price is lower and output is higher. Price closer to marginal cost, therefore a gain in allocative efficiency, and the higher output could in theory lead to more economies of scale, which brings down the unit cost. Well, that lower price could be beneficial to certain groups in the community, perhaps relatively poor households who maybe can't afford a particular product. Our third objective is sales maximization, where average cost meets average revenue. And again, the shareholder is likely to suffer here because the level of profit is reduced to a normal level, so dividends will be less. It's the lowest price of the three, so there's a clear consumer benefit in terms of increased consumer surplus. Maybe what about the impact on employment? Well, output is higher, so the firm will need to possibly employ more people to produce the output. But will they be able to pay as higher wage? Oftentimes firms which are less profitable can't afford to pay as high a wage as a firm which is making good profits year in, year out. And indeed, some employees may have a profit share, in which case, if you're going for sales maximization, employees with a profit share as part of their pay bargaining may see a fall in their income. So the crucial point here is that different objectives of businesses feed through to different stakeholders. It's a great exam point to bear in mind that there's a variety of stakeholders in any business. Use, where you can, the concept of stakeholders in your exam answer, and that will certainly help both the analysis and also the evaluation.